So, you work at the dealer, you said, like a Volvo dealer?
Yeah, Volvo is in semis though.
Yeah, big stuff, big trucks.
Yeah,
And you're thinking about going out on your own and mobile and stuff like that.
yeah. So I've set my deadline as April 1st to be
Okay.
out of there.
And what do you plan to like? What are your plans? What are you gonna do? Like, what's your thought process on how you're gonna start out? And like, because big trucks, I would assume, maybe not have it. I see like some guys here that have big truck stuff, and they do more of like those service trucks that have all the compartments on the sides and everything.
So I've already done that route for our dealership actually, and traveled the state, going to mines and all that stuff. And I'm actually going to completely cut semis out of the equation.
Okay, so what are you gonna go do? Cars or
Yeah, cars, light duty diesels
so
will be
like what do we
biggest.
do?
Yeah,
Okay, cool. All right, yeah. So then, yeah, that's yeah. I wouldn't want to be doing all that big heavy truck stuff, man.
no, it's
That's too
gross.
much. I did that back. My first job was for AT&T. Back when they were still Bell South down in South Florida, and they had bucket trucks. So and probably not big like your semis, but just air brake bucket trucks, and having to change oil in a 5-gallon bucket is not
Yeah.
cool. Like, I did not want to do that ever again. I hate that stuff. I barely want to change regular oil. I don't, that's so messy and disgusting. But anyway, cool, man. So what's up? You got some questions? You want to do a Q&A here or something?
Yeah. So actually, I ended up picking up a trailer yesterday,
Cool.
which kind of defeats the first one that I had for you, which was if you were to get, another trailer, like, what would you do different with yours? Like things you wish you had that, like, fuck, if everything was out of here and I could have started fresh, it would have been easier.
Just the size. I contemplated going with the 8.5 wide trailer. So this one's a 7x14. So on the floor, there's no wheel wells. So my biggest problem having the 8.5-foot trailer was the wheel well height for like this box. I wouldn't have been able to push it against the wall. So the only thing I could do was like put it in front of wheel wells, but then it would have thrown off the weight where this sits near the axles to be relatively safe. Now, granted, I didn't have to have this toolbox. I could have used two of these other ones that are off to the side here and had one here, skip the wheel well, do another one. Maybe something like that would have worked, and maybe that's in the future. But length, I run out of space really quick. You'll start off as, oh, this is going to be good this way. It's going to be ever changing, like consistently. You're always going to be upgrading something, changing something when you out there working and you realize like, this doesn't really work out for me. I want to change that. I want to make this a little bit better this way. And, you'll be changing everything every couple of months. Like, I've gone through, this hasn't moved, but all that stuff back there has basically evolved. I've moved stuff multiple times. This toolbox has changed 3 times just because I keep getting more and more stuff that I need space for. And that's the biggest problem, is I'm running out of space.
Yeah.
What size trailer did you buy?
8.5 by 20.
8.5 by 20? Yeah. So you'll figure that out. Like, depending on your toolboxes, the height of it on the bottom here of like this green box, maybe it'll fit over your wheel well. I don't know how tall the wheel well is.
I didn't measure how tall. The length of it was 68 though. So I figured if I just like build a platform that's the same height kind of deal.
Yeah.
Take the wheels off, put it on there, then at least it's covered by the inland marine because it's part
bolted down. Right? Yeah. And that might be a decent idea. Like, if you built a really secure floor or platform or something, stuff could slide in there that, takes up space that you just don't want to deal with. That's long stuff. you know, that you know, you'll get creative with it and figure out where everything's going to go. But yeah, I see if I stay mobile and I don't go into a shop in the next X amount of years, which I don't, I contemplate that every day, because I really always would love to have a shop, but I don't want to be tied down to a building. I want to be able to say, I'm taking Friday off and we're going on an extended vacation or extended weekend. We have that freedom, and the freedom is a lot to give up, but also, you know, just the coolness of having a shop and lifts and stuff like that. So
it would definitely make life easier, but like the least part of it is like, crap, if this doesn't work, like, what do I do now, you know?
Yeah, well, definitely, I always, kind of like that video I just posted, you know, just, you start out slow. Start out small and just, you know, figure yourself out as you go and figure out your pricing as you go. I have fluctuated my pricing a lot over the past 4 years. I've only really been in full swing business 100%. This will be my 4th year. I started it in 2020 out of the bed of a truck while I was still cutting grass. I owned a lawn service after I left the shops, and I just was trying to feel it out, and it wasn't working that way, and I wasn't getting the clientele base that I wanted. I was getting those bottom feeders, people that constantly want to buy Amazon parts and stuff like that, and I don't want that stuff. So that's when we finally, in like 2021, I was like, nah, I'm building the trailer and we're doing something different, and it took off from there. I never looked back. I sold the lawn service. The month I put this in service was like May of 2021, I think, and I sold the lawn service in June. And I was done. I was like, no, we're making, it rolls too well, and I just, you know, there's no reason to keep going. So did it full time then on.
I mean, 2021, we still would have had all like the social media crap. Did you do a lot of advertising on there to get started, or was it mostly just word of mouth?
All word of mouth. I never paid for any advertising. So what I first did was I went to the parts houses, and I got friendly. I went to AutoZone first, and I got friendly with the people in there, and I built the trailer. I brought it there, and I introduced myself to the commercial manager, which was a young lady at the time, and said, this is what I do, this is what I provide. And they're like, really? Like, that's really cool. Like, they had other mobile guys, but again, they're guys like with tools out of the trunk of their car, or, you know, just a pickup truck. And there was never anybody, they were all still like paying sales tax. There was nobody that had jumped in 100% and was like, I'm a full-fledged business. And when I presented that to them, it kind of, like, it didn't impress them, but they were like, oh, you're different than everybody else. And that was my goal. I didn't want to be the name of a mobile mechanic the way most people think it. But I lost my train of thought. Anyway, I do that consistently. So I got friendly with them. I helped them with a couple of their diagnostic things when they had questions. They saw I had real scanners. And I started sending them lunch once a month. I'd send over like 4 or 5 pizzas. They got to know who I was, and people love that. When you do pizza or sandwich rings or something like that, you send it over to them, they'll hand your card out to everybody. And it works really well. And then the only other thing I did was, and I still do to this day, every week I post a small little saying about me and some pictures in like 12 or 15 different groups on Facebook in my area. So like I live in Ocala, Florida. Denellen, Florida, but it's Ocala. So there's groups called like Denellen Word of Mouth, Ocala Word of Mouth, Citrus County, you know, Word of Mouth, Rainbow Lakes Estates Word of Mouth, plus so many others that have other different sayings to them. Like official word of mouth, you know, just all these groups that everyone that lives here can be associated with and talk and say stuff. So I go into that group and I'll say things like, are you tired of sitting at the auto repair shop? Give us a call. We bring the shop right to your front door. Diagnostics, brake jobs, coolant leaks, you name it, we do it. Oil changes. And then I put the biggest picture I put is of them looking into the trailer so they could see what we have. And then just, you know, a brake job or this, and like my QR code for my link tree to go to YouTube and stuff like that. I do that once a week, and people start seeing it consistently. They start messaging you, calling you. Because when I worked in the shop, they did stuff called direct mail. Direct mailers are very, very expensive, but the whole goal of it was to shove something in your face consistently. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I remember that. Same with a billboard. You drive by it every day. Oh, I remember that lawyer. Oh, I remember that business. So that's what I used Facebook as, because it's free. Same thing in the parts houses, with them shoving my card in customers' faces that come in to buy parts but need a real technician. They don't want to go to a shop. They see my card 1,000 times, and then your phone eventually will just organically start ringing. That's how I did it. And I work on 35 to 40 cars a week, depending on the time of year. Back to school tends to get a little slow. Right now we'll kind of slow down a little. People will get their tax money. It'll shoot up real big.
Yeah, I saw you mention that in that last video.
Yeah, so I mean, it's all over the place. And then for some reason, Christmas is nuts. I always take 2 weeks off, but the phone, it seems like it doesn't stop ringing at Christmas time. It's insane.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
Oh.
What else you got? That's all I do for advertising. I don't do anything else. I never pay. I don't do anything. I thought about doing some stuff like I did with my lawn service in some of these retirement neighborhoods. I was playing with the idea of oil change services, as I don't really offer oil changes or inspections. We're so busy that almost all of my work is because people have a breakdown or a diagnostic thing that needs to be done, and that's where all my time goes in. I don't do oil changes to do inspections to tell people, hey, you need brakes, or hey, you have this leak, or hey, you have that. I think it's a good thing, but I also think it's a bad thing. Like, I don't like how the shops used to force us to shove that down the customer's throat.
Yeah.
Whether you were at a dealer or an independent shop, you had to make your own paycheck as a flat rate tech. Same here, but I felt guilty having to, not felt guilty, I just felt it was kind of morally wrong to, you know, you got a little old lady in there and that service writer's like, you need all these flushes. I'm like, I didn't offer those flushes. Well, the boss says we need to offer these things. I'm like, okay, like some of it may be needed, but other things don't. Like, she's got 120,000 miles. She's never had a transmission flush. You flush it now, she might have a transmission problem after that. Who's liable? We look like the idiots. So like, I always swore I wasn't going to do that. And I still am never going to do that. But I am leaving a lot of money on the table when it comes to not doing full inspections, but I just don't have the time. Eventually, I'm hoping sometime this year, my wife will be part of the company and she can handle the customers and the computer while I can focus on the car. Right now, I have to answer every phone call, every text message, every email, talk to the customer while I'm there, go look up the parts and write everything down, take all the pictures, do all that stuff. You know, it takes a lot of time. And then when I'm home, I still have to do all that stuff. I have to do all the estimating, all of the scheduling, the phone calls, everything that I have to do. So if I'm home by 2 or 3 o'clock every day, which I typically am, sometimes I'm not done until 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, doing estimates, doing this, reworking the schedule for the next day because things changed or whatever, making sure I have the parts available for the next couple of days, where I have to go on the schedule. There's a lot to it that most people don't see, but it's good. It really is good. Like, I like it a lot. Like, it's not something to scare anybody about, but that's the whole reason why I made this channel. Was I've been in the shops for almost 20 years and now I'm 16 years and doing this for 4 years. It's no one gives you that information. Same with like all that tax stuff that I was talking about in the last video, and I had some people comment, which don't take offense to this. They're not you, them people watching. You know, they were talking about the LLC thing and the sole proprietorship. Like, yeah, there's some liability involved in that, but you have to evaluate every single situation. if you don't have any assets and you don't own your house outright and you ain't got $100,000 sitting in the bank, being a sole proprietor is not going to hurt you. Now, granted, every state is different. That's just here in Florida. LLCs are protective, but that's what an accountant's for. And if you're not making a lot of money, my accountant always told me that until you start making close to, $100,000 in net, proceeds, then being an LLC doesn't save you a lot on the tax. I don't know how true it is because I don't know all the exact numbers. I'm not a pro. I just know that there's a lot of things that you can write off to save a lot of money on taxes when you're an LLC. You could still do the same things as a sole proprietor. You just pay different. So like, I believe as a sole proprietor, let's say the company at the end of the year made a net profit of $50,000. I got to pay tax on that. Well, the same thing with an LLC, but out of that $50,000, I paid myself a paycheck of $30,000. Well, that takes the net to $20,000 and I pay a different tax rate on that $20,000. So there's little differences here and there. So if you're making $20,000 a year, but now you got to spend $400 to do those taxes, plus pay the yearly fee to own an LLC, and now when you give yourself a paycheck, the company has to pay tax of the paycheck, and so do you. So the company has to have more available funds in it to run an LLC versus a sole proprietorship where the money just goes in the bank, all your expenses come off, you pay your tax on that, and the money's yours. Same with the business, but I have to take a distribution. I have to claim that. I have to do a lot more behind the scenes stuff that people don't realize. There's a lot to it. And that was the questions I couldn't get answered. So when I jumped in and did the LLC last year, beginning of 2024 is when I turned from a sole prop to an LLC, I had made too much money, way too much money, and I didn't pay enough in my quarterlies. So that's why I bought my truck. I needed a big tax write-off. Otherwise, I was going to be paying way out the butt. So not the greatest thing to do, but that's all stuff you're going to learn as the years go by. And you'll be fine. It's not scary.
I've got the LLC already, right?
Yeah.
For all the crap that I have to fill out, at least, in the state of Nevada, right? Yeah. It's LLC as sole proprietor because I didn't register it as like an S Corp or something like that.
Okay.
But because I did a tax meeting on like Thursday or some crap, they said that payroll services weren't available until I take it out of a sole proprietor LLC and put it as an S Corp.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, well then at least, let me know what I need to do.
Yeah. My best advice on that is when you find yourself an accountant, make sure that accountant makes you feel like you learned something, not like you have to go take a shower afterwards because they just seem slimy. I get that saying from Dave Ramsey years ago. Granted, I don't follow him 100% because I'm in debt and I'm not getting out of it because I don't care. But that's a good saying, just make sure you feel like someone taught you something and that you're not feeling like you got to go take a shower.
Yeah.
But,
all right, so next I got for you is going to be about, I guess, that last video you had. You got all your scheduling done for the week and everything. Everything seems pretty stacked up. So how do you deal with factoring in, like, the time it's going to take you to drive from one end of the city to the next?
I don't do that. So my schedule, I build every Friday. So, like, let's just take 2 days ago, for instance, I built out all of next week. So I think I have 31 on next week's schedule as of right now. Usually before the end of Tuesday, most of those open little spots are full. So I say I kind of have to evaluate every Friday. So I look at the jobs. Who's an emergency and who has waited longest to get on the schedule? Meaning they called Tuesday or Wednesday of the week prior and I had no place for them and they're like, yeah, next week's fine. I'll try to give them an earlier day. So I book it by neighborhoods. I just kind of know my area, so I take all of the addresses for, like, I just know where we are. You know where you live, so you kind of know the frequent areas. So I build it by neighborhood. So Monday, I go out, I'll hit the first job, and then I make sure my next job is like in a path. And and I give everybody a 2-hour window when I'm going to potentially arrive. So the first job, I tell them I'm going to be there between 8 and 10 a.m. Second job, same thing. And then like third and fourth job, I change it to like between 9 and 11 or 10 and 12, type of thing like that for the third and fourth job. Because everybody, if they're on my list, it's an hour minimum, because I got about 10 minutes drive, 10 to 15 minutes in between customers. And then when I'm there, I don't do, there's a guy here in town, he doesn't have what I have as far as a setup, but he charges people $120 just to show up at their house. I agree with what he does, but I don't agree because it just doesn't sell. It doesn't sell here. What sells here is a $60 initial inspection or a typical $90 diagnostic. Now, if it's a check engine light or electrical diagnostic, it's an hour charge. But I feel over the years that I have found that $90 is that really good number that people in my area are okay with paying someone to come to their house and look at their car to tell them professionally what's wrong with it. I don't remember if that's what you asked me or not. What was your question?
About scheduling.
Oh, the scheduling. Yeah, so you see I go off on a rant. So that time frame, it tells me enough that I can go to their house, quickly do an AC evaluation. I can have enough time to do a typical check engine light diagnosis. So if I'm doing 6 or 7 of those only in a day, I know that that's what I'm going for. Now, if I'm like, all right, well, I've got 3 checkouts for that day, but I also have, 2 brake jobs I have to do, that's a little bit longer of a time frame that I have to make sure is on my list. So that way I schedule accordingly to that. You know what I mean? So I sit down for about a good hour and a half on Friday night, evaluate all that, put everybody there, and then I send all my text messages or make my phone calls real quick. These are the days you're on. 99% of the time, people are great with the days I give them, and they're 100% okay with it. If they're not, oh well. In the beginning, I would bend over backwards for everybody because I thought I had to, but over time, you realize you just don't. The phone's gonna ring. You'll get those quality customers that want to pay your rates in time, and the name will get bigger and it'll be fine.
Gotcha. All right, what do we got next? The next one was about tech metrics. Mm-hmm. I forget what it was on the little spreadsheet you had per month kind of deal.
Like my cost?
Yeah.
So TechMetric has 3 different tiers.
Right.
I don't know what the smallest tier is. I think it's like $199 a month.
It's something like that.
Yeah, and then I'm on the second tier. But I also have, so it's like $349 a month for that tier. But I pay an additional, I think $40 or something like that. I think it's $40 or $45 for the integration to QuickBooks. So I have QuickBooks Online, smaller, simpler program, and it has payroll involved. So my payroll is every Wednesday, and it's automatic. As long as there's money in my bank account, it automatically takes $600 and something out for my taxes, because I pay an additional $450 every week to cover my quarterlies, because I personally am an owner operator, have to pay that. It takes out the payroll tax, and it takes out what the employee has to send to the IRS so I can have a W-2 at the end of the year. And it just sends the other portion that I pay myself, there's a plane going by, into my bank account. But the $50 takes all that money. So every customer, every cost of part, every RO, everything we make on TechMetric gets pushed directly into QuickBooks. So that way, and that's what a company called the Back Office sets up for you. They ask you how you want things done, and they'll talk you through it on the phone and everything. And so every payment, how it's paid, how much it is, all that stuff. Just like I said, it goes into TechMetric or QuickBooks, so your accountant can see how you're running the company and how everything's going, so you don't physically have to do it. Do you have to do it that way? Of course not. I originally did everything on paper, and then I moved into All Data Shop Manager, which was cheaper, but it was very rudimentary. I had to physically input everything. I chose to go with TechMetric because it was taking me like 10 minutes or so to make an estimate for a customer, whereas with TechMetric, I can open the estimate, labor guide is included in it and integrated, so I just click on the labor I want, and it automatically puts it on the line. The time, our labor rate, everything's already there. And then parts, I click on Parts Tech, and it takes me to my big three, or big four: Napa, Advance, AutoZone, and O'Reilly's. The VIN number is already there, so it's already, if I need a starter, I just type in starter, click it, and it'll pull up all the starters that are available in my home store, which are the four main stores I go to. If they have it in stock or if they have to order it, prices, cost. If I want that starter, I just hit the button and it automatically shoots it right over to the invoice or to the estimate. Already done. My estimate's done in less than 2 minutes. The other ways were taking me longer. Using a calculator, I was making mistakes and I was leaving too much profit on the table. This way, you can evaluate your numbers, and that's what I wanted. But again, you don't have to do all that. It's pretty expensive. I just chose to do it that way. There is cheaper ways to start if you don't want to use those options. And you totally can in the beginning, so that way you're kind of feeling it out. When you start to get to the point where you have the money in the company to spend on those things, that's when you start spending it. That's what I did, at least. I waited till we were making good enough money that I could invest back into the company. And I did that for the first, almost the whole first year. I invested almost everything back into the company because I sold the lawn service. I had a little bit of money, only 10 grand. I still am owed $8,000. The guy ran off on me. But we used that to kind of help live a little bit. And I bought the trailer with most of it. I needed to buy that stuff. So, it's difficult, but you'll get it. You'll figure out the ins and outs. There's other programs too that might cost different, like there's Shop Monkey. I will not recommend the other one. What is it called? I tried them out last year for a little bit. It ended up costing me $900 for a really crappy system. Oh, Shop Boss. I don't recommend them. Real poor customer service, and their system was very clunky. TechMetric I stick with because it just is so seamless. And if you have a problem, there's a Facebook group and everybody will answer the questions for you. Even the admins of TechMetric follow the group and they'll answer questions on it too.
Gotcha. So those labor guides on there, though, they seem to be pretty accurate from what
Very accurate. I think it's done by Motor. And if I ever have a question about it, I always just check All Data to quickly do it. But they also have if you have All Data, there's an integration that brings All Data labor guide in with it, so you can always use that too. It disconnects every once in a while, so I just don't bother with it because the other one works just fine for me.
Gotcha. And so that Parts Tech deal, you still have Advanced Auto Parts, by the way?
Kinda. I think they're closed by you now, and they're probably going to end up going away one day, but gotcha. I use them quite frequently because the people that are at the Advanced Auto Parts were the people that used to be at AutoZone when I first started the company. So they'll bend over backwards for me. Like there's a car that's sitting behind you guys right now. The video's not up yet, but the customer needed a battery. I was able to get them to just defect a battery out for me and pass the savings along to the customer to help him out, which kind of sucks because that customer just screwed me, and I'm waiting for him to come and pick it up. You'll see that video one day. It's a real pain in the ass, but anyway, yeah, still Advanced here.
So you haven't had any problems using Parts Tech though?
No, Parts Tech, it's pretty seamless. It works really well because, like I said, it puts it right into the cart. You hit submit quote, it pushes it right into TechMetric, and then if you sell the job, you just hit the button and it automatically orders it from your hub store. And if it's not in the hub store, it'll send over the order, and then the store just gets it into them, and then I go pick up whenever I need to pick up. Because everyone here knows who I am, so they know there's no delivery. They know I come in like on Mondays and pick up all my parts. Like today, I got to go to AutoZone and pick stuff up because I need it for where I'm going tomorrow, which is not near the AutoZone.
Gotcha. Okay. Man, the little tangents are kind of knocking these out left and right.
There you go.
So, in my case, I bought one with a rear ramp. Not really what I wanted, but at least it'll make getting everything in for the first time easier.
Yeah.
So, when you do got to back up to use your AC machine, pretty convenient just having the doors.
Yeah.
Have you ever used those super long, like, extension hoses?
No, I have not. I didn't know they had them. But I usually just pull the car right up to the trailer. So I'll pull up in a general area, like as best as I can, open up the doors, and the customer's like, you can do it in the garage. Like, no, I'm not working in your garage for a lot of reasons. I don't want to walk back and forth. The whole point of the doors was to be able to bring the car as close as I can, so I don't have to travel. I want to be able to just grab my tools. I want it to be like I'm in a bay. I want that to be my bay. Keep your customer away from that, which I never do. I suck at that. But, you know, you tell your customers you're not allowed in the work area, you know, type of thing. I need to work on that. But that was the whole point of the bay doors, or the open doors, to get that car as close as I can so I can work, especially with the AC machine. But I'll look into that if they got, you know, you can clip them into these and then go longer. That would help in some jobs, because there has been like maybe a time or two where I'm like, dang it, like that's really close. You know, I got to get the car like nearly in the trailer to get hooked up to like a high side or something. But it works out. It's not that heavy. I can pick this machine up and take it out if I had to. So it works enough.
So the 18 Rams, I think it's 18 and up, right? Well, I guess it's all of Stellantis, I think.
The what?
This security gateway module thing that they have. Have you encountered that?
What the hell on what? What are you talking about?
I think it was just the 18 and up Rams.
Oh, that security. So I have. I don't encounter it that much, to be honest with you. But you sign up to whatever that secure link thing is, and my scanners hook up to my Wi-Fi in the trailer, which is getting upgraded this weekend. I'm going to go pick up the Starlink RV Mini. It's going to attach to one of them up on the roof there and come in, because this AT&T hotspot just sucks. But I don't ever have a problem with it. And if I do, it's one car out of 40. They can go to the dealer or another shop if we can't do it. I like my scanners, but I am looking into some other ones because I don't want to pay the $1,600 a year to upgrade them.
Yeah.
I think there's some scanners out there. I watch advanced level diagnostics videos. He gets a lot of scanners sent to him as like to test. And I have to ask him or go back through his videos, because some of them you don't have to pay to do the yearly updates on them. You can get the next model year, but these are updated to 2023, I think, or 2024. But I mean, we're not seeing those cars yet. They're still at the dealer. Most cars have got a 5-year warranty on them, and I don't ever see them. I maybe will start to see like a 2022 that's out of warranty on mileage, but rarely. And it's not much Chrysler.
It's like it's cheaper just to buy whatever the newer scanner is, and it comes with all the updates on it, and then at least
So I said that once, and I'll say it here too. So like my Altel, that's the biggest Altel you can get. I probably won't buy that one ever again. I had gotten it because I was going to do a lot of PCM and stuff programming, but I'm not. To deal with those websites when you're out in the field can get kind of daunting, especially when I've got other work to do. So it wasn't something I decided to do any longer. I did it in the shops and I know how to do it, and I don't run into it a lot. But so that scanner's like $5,000. All right, well, $1,500. That's what, nearly 3 years, 3.5 years, 4 years, something like that. Okay, I could buy that scanner again in 5 years when those cars start to come out without having to do all those updates and spend it every year. Or I can continue to update and save that scanner for 10 years. But at that point, it's a computer. It tends to get a little bit outdated at sometimes and gets slower compared to the newer ones, especially some of these really nice top dons that are out there. I kind of like those. But this is what I could afford because at Advance and AutoZone, I have spending accounts, commercial spending accounts. And I just used my one spending account to buy that one time, and I just paid it off in like 4 months or something like that without having to do interest or put it on a credit card or something like that. I just paid the separate account, my weekly spending account, or it's a monthly account, but I pay it weekly. I pay my parts every week because I don't like to have money hanging over. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So how do you go about setting up these? I know you got to get first call and then AutoZone commercial and all that kind of stuff. But
you'll get that after. So I don't know how it works there, but in Florida, you need to be a business, so either a sole prop or an LLC or S corp or whatever, and then you get a tax ID. So in Florida, this year tax just went up to 7.5% instead of 7%. You get your sales use resale certificate. So every month, I'm just a middleman for sales tax, just like everybody else. So you go into the commercial department and you say you want to open a commercial account. They'll run a quick credit check and see if they want to give you funding expense. You don't have to have that, but you can still set up, to buy tax free, which is what I do. I buy everything tax free, and then my ticket has sales tax, and I push that on to the IRS. But yeah, once you're a business and you have a sales tax, you just walk in there and say, I want to open this up. Talk to the commercial manager. They'll give you an application. You fill it out. You'll get it. It just depends on how much they'll give you on the spending side of it. And you just work with them for as long as you need, and then they'll up that as time goes on. O'Reilly's, they don't give you as much because they usually start everybody at a weekly account instead of a monthly account. I recently pushed it into a monthly account, but I don't spend a lot at O'Reilly's just because they're not in an area that I go a lot. So I only spend maybe $200-300 a week there. I spend usually about $1,000 to $1,500 between AutoZone and Advance every week on parts and inventory stock and different stuff like that.
So then I was wondering if we're going to lose power. For special order items, right, where it's like you have a non-returnable coolant reservoir that has to be ordered from GM or some crap, right? Is that something you ask for initial deposit on from the customer?
Yeah. So on the bottom of my invoices and ROs or estimates, it states that if parts are used, meaning you can only buy a used ABS module because they don't sell them, or that's the only place you can buy like an ABS pump, anything, or online purchases because you can only buy the part from eBay because it's a weird shifter assembly or something. All that stuff has to be purchased up front because life happens and customers can cancel on you. And yeah. I'm not going to be out on their part that they needed for the car that they decided to bail on last minute because, they had an accident. Now the car is destroyed, or Billy needs shoes for football or something like that. And now the car has to wait. I'll tangent again here. That's one thing that happens is that you're going to get a lot of customers that don't want to spend money on their car, and they're going to look for the cheapest thing, and they're going to try to bother you on the cheapest thing. And I don't do that because people need to understand their car is an investment. It takes them to and from work. 99% of the people in this world have to go to work because we're all in debt, and they have to go to their job and they hate their job, but they don't want to spend money on the car that takes them to the job to make that money. They just are looking for the cheapest thing. They want to spend more money on a cell phone and internet and, food going out to eat than they want to take care of the thing that's an asset for them that gets them to the job. Sorry, another tangent there.
It's all good. So when you were doing your commercial insurance policy then, because you got the flammable rag thing, all that brake clean in the lower drawer of the tool cart?
They don't care.
Really?
No, they didn't say nothing about it. Maybe because it's a steel box. I don't know. That was the one thing I asked the inspector when he came out. I was like, what about chemicals? He's like, we don't care. You're mobile. EPA doesn't even care. So when you're in a shop, the EPA wants you to have barrels with spill pallets and stuff like that. That was my biggest thing. So I was calling the EPA, calling my county, asking them, hey, what am I supposed to do here? And they're like, nothing. You're not transporting over a certain amount to have like hazmat or things like that. It's the same as this stuff. The way they classify us is just like a DIY, meaning that you're only transporting it to just like you would if you went to the store and bought enough oil to do 4 oil changes at your house. And you have to, I'm allowed to, most people, not companies, people, you're allowed in our area. There's a lot of places that don't have trash pickup. So we have centrally located recycling centers. You're allowed to bring your own used oil there and drop off, I think, 5 gallons a day. I don't do that. I get rid of it at the auto parts store. But so there's that fine line where we are compared to a shop where they're looking at them that they're doing so much. I'm doing it on someone's property. I guess they just leave it up to the fact that it's the homeowner's problem at that point. I don't really know, but that was a big risk for me or a scare for me in the beginning. But I eventually was just like, I don't care anymore, because every time you call, they're like, we don't have an answer for you. We're this, we're that. I documented it, and I've never had a problem. Nobody bothers me about it. And if they did, I'll find out what we're supposed to do at that point, and I'll fix it and be the way they want. But until then, no idea. But yes, the insurance agency, the only thing they wanted, I have a inspected fire extinguisher up there and this fire can for my rags. But yeah, the brake clean, I could put it in my truck, and it's the same thing. Like, oh, it's in your truck. It's not part of your trailer. We don't care, type of thing. Like, so there's too many, everything is not, it's not a physical being location where the county is regulating the, what do they call that? The zoning on it. So I'm traveling all around. Nobody really cares. It's like they turn a blind eye to it, I guess.
So I guess this would be another tangent. So the other week, had to go out, look at this piece of crap Dodge. It is in downtown Reno. No place to even park the Focus that I decided to bring with me. Have you encountered these areas, or like when you were starting, did you look up where every address was for like satellite view to even make sure you could show up with your trailer?
No, I just make do. I mean, in some of these I have a lot of retirement neighborhoods here, and a lot of rural neighborhoods. So I don't, maybe if I was like southern more and I was in like Orlando, where it's like insane traffic and crazy, or like even where I'm from in South Florida, there's more stoplights, it's harder maneuverability. I chose this because of where I was and the pure fact that I could just unhook the truck and go. I didn't want to have like an old box truck or an old U-Haul truck that I had to worry about fixing giant brakes and giant tires and all this other crap. The trailer, it's an axle bearing. I just deal with that. But no, I have not encountered that. Maybe once or twice. So, okay, I take that back. A guy I went to the other day, he lives on a really, really busy road. I can't stop and back up into his driveway. So I just pulled up in a swale. It is what it is. You're going to have to deal with, they're going to have to deal with it. And if you can't park somewhere, just tell them, like, I can't pull in there safely. You're going to have to move the car into this parking lot or over here or something like that for me to get to you. And you'll kind of deal with that on a daily basis, but I don't run into it like ever.
Gotcha. So at retirement communities, do you ever catch grief from like, they'll call you back later saying like, hey, we got an HOA notice because they showed, your trailer working on our car or anything.
No, these people that live in these HOAs love my company. They love the fact that we show up to their house. Nobody complains. Sometimes you'll get a little bit of an aggression in these really ritzy older retirement communities. We have one here called On Top of the World. When I used to own my lawn service, that's all I did was cut grass in On Top of the World. And I had like 100 accounts in there weekly. Some of the neighbors were, because you ride a big lawnmower, you're just hurting the grass, shut up. Now when they see me in there with this, they're like, you come to the house? I don't have to go sit in the shop to get an oil change? Yep, we come right here, do it right in your... Supposed to do it in their garage in that neighborhood because that neighborhood has some limitations. But no, they love it. Nobody hates it. Every once in a while, someone will be kind of maybe snooty or something, but who cares? They kiss my butt.
Gotcha. Pretty much everything out here that it used to be desert is now getting built, so everyone is HOA'd. Like,
oh yeah. No, the HOAs don't bother me. They don't give us a problem at all. And most of the HOAs they're not really there for that. Some of them don't want you working on cars in the driveway. So that neighborhood On Top of the World, I'm technically supposed to only work on something in the customer's garage. Or if it's broken down in the road or in their driveway, I can fix it enough to get it moved into the garage, but we don't. We just do what we have to do, move on, and like I said, the neighbors love it. And people from the community aren't driving around looking for me to be like, you're doing this. I mean, there's guys in there that are fixing golf carts all day long in their trailers and stuff like that, and they've been in there for years.
Right. Shop supplies. How do you calculate out your shop supplies in terms of
cost?
It just get added on, but percentage wise.
I just started doing Google searches in the beginning, trying to see what people were kind of charging, and then I got a baseline, and now I figure it as in, am I making money on the shop supplies or not? Because everything's a profit. No matter what, the shop supplies are there to do the job that the customer needs you to come and do. So they have to pay for everything. They have to pay for your time, your experience, your tools, your shop supplies. So now I do 5.5% on parts only. I only charge shop supplies if parts are on the ticket. I don't charge shop supplies on labor because where I live, you don't charge tax on labor only jobs. You only charge sales tax on sold parts. You don't do sold labor. So I don't put the shop supplies on there. If I use rags and brake clean because I'm doing a diagnostic on something, I don't care. I just move on. It's not the end of the world. Some months I do well. Some months I might break even. I'm not trying to be rich off the shop supplies. I'm just trying to make sure that if I spend, X amount of dollars a year, I'm just trying to make sure I at least got that back and a couple of bucks just to make sure that my shop supplies are at least being paid for,
Yeah.
They're not what pays the bills. The labor rate pays the technician. The parts markup pays the service writer and the secretary. So, and the company bills. So all of that additional markup. So if it's an hour rate, I'm $105 an hour now. It's in the system. It's about $30 per hour to pay the technician. So that's X amount of, that's whatever, $65 or $70, $80 or something like that, that the company gets to keep out of the labor, and then X amount on the part. So let's say I'm looking at a 50% margin on a part or a 60% margin on a part, depending on the part cost, whatever that additional is, those numbers need to be able to cover your hourly expenses to run your company on a typical 8-hour day. That's just how I tried to figure it. So I would take all my monthly expenses, divide it by 5 days and 8 hours a day. That's how I came up with my labor rate. And I came up with my labor rate, I bumped it slightly above that. So I think my number, I'd have to redo the math. I have no freaking clue right now. Because I'm at, what did I say, like $9,300 a month I have to have to pay the bills. I got to do the math now, but it was lower. It was like 60 something dollars an hour or something like that. Somebody on here do the math and tell me in the comments, but whatever that number is, that's your base minimum that you have to charge just to break even. So that means the company doesn't make no money and you can't pay taxes. So you have to go above that X amount. So you at the end of the year, you want to have on your net income, you want to have like your gross profit should be somewhere in that 50 to 60% range, because your gross profit is where all of your expenses come out. All the stuff that you have to pay, my truck payment, tech metric, all my bills, all that $9,300, everything outside of parts basically, and shop supplies. That's where that all has to be paid from. So if you only charge $60 an hour and it costs you $55 to run the company, you're not going to make any money, and you're not going to be able to pay your expenses. You're only going to pay your paycheck and the parts. You're not going to have enough of a profit to cover the company.
Right.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was in agreement.
Yeah.
So when it comes to then like parts markup, I guess we're going with the standard, like everybody does 30%, at least at the dealership they seem to, and it kind of fluctuates depending on how large the job is.
Yeah, so in Tech Metric, they have what's called a parts matrix. And you can adjust that for yourself. And I look at every job as a whole in itself. I use the parts matrix to automatically up the part. And so a parts matrix basically just says the cost of this part is in here. This is the percentage it's going to up that part in cost to the customer. So the cheaper the part, the profit margin's much higher. And as the cost goes higher, the profit margin comes down, the multiplier changes. So I set it in a way to give you a base. So if I look at a ticket and the part is, going to cost me $600 to buy some fuel pump or whatever it is, like for instance, the Toyota Tundras that have the issues, the fuel pumps are $900 or $700, $900 for that fuel pump. I'm not going to make a lot on that job. The labor rate will help me some, but that overall gross profit on that job is going to be somewhere around 30%, 40%. Most of your gravy jobs, your brake jobs, your radiators, your compressors, your things like that, you're going to get a profit margin around 50 to 60% on the total job when you're done. And that's what the parts matrix is for. I think what did you just ask me on that?
Yeah, basically it's about how setting up matrix.
You'll work that out as you go. And I even sometimes my parts matrix, when I look at the ticket, I'm like, that's too expensive. I'm not doing that. And then here's the other part to that. Here's another tangent, right? So you're going to have all the customers that are going to say, well, I can go buy the part for this. That is true. You can go buy it for that. You're not getting a warranty on the labor. You're not getting the ease of what we provide for you as a mobile service. If it fails, you're going to pay me to do it again. And you're going to go deal with the warranty. You're going to go deal with the parts house. And you're going to go pay for the part up front. And then I'll come and change it. I'm not going to come there, take it out, and then you go get the new one, and then I come back. Don't work that way. You're going to go buy it. I'll come and change it. You pay me, and then you can go get your money back. So they're not getting the warranty. They're not getting I can go sit in my recliner and not worry about this. They have to now go do the legwork. So that's where the markup on parts comes from in this type of world. A lot of people will gripe. Most people will be like, you're a scammer, you're this. Kiss my ass. I don't care what you have to say. This is a business. We're a company. We're out here to make money and to grow bigger so we can either give people jobs or have retirement. That's the whole point of it. And there's a lot of people that don't agree with it, and I really don't. They're not the people I want. They're not the people I want to associate the company with or anything like that. So just make sure you're being fair. Sometimes I will, if I'm looking at the part and I'm like, man, that's a little bit high, I'll double check. I'll Google the part number to see what AutoZone sells it to the customer for out the door. And I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm good. I'm $40, $50 over that price. That's a very small price to pay, $40, $50 over. Let's say the customer can buy it for $250 and I sell it to them for $300, but I bought it for, $200 or whatever the number is. The customers most of the time, $50 is it, and you're going to cover the warranty for 12 months, 12,000 miles. You're going to go get it. You're going to do everything, and I don't have to lift a finger. Awesome. That's usually where it is, because most of the parts, not all. Sometimes I have a gripe with some of these auto parts stores that I can walk in the store and pay for a part, and yet the customer can order it online and get it cheaper than me. That's a big problem because most of these auto parts stores don't care about the shops anymore. Their biggest contributor is they're trying to keep the DIYer coming in the store. So that's when you have to open your mouth and you have to say, hey, you're selling this to the regular person for almost what I am. You need to fix that. And most of the places, they'll cut the cost. Yep, here you go. And they'll cut it so we can actually make a profit. Because if I can't make a profit, there's no reason to be in business and no reason to sell that part. Then it's like, you go buy it. I'm not doing it. But that's where it gets a little difficult because you have to have the morals. I don't want to charge $300 over or $200 over what a customer could buy the part for. That's a ripoff. That's not doing the customer justice. That's not us providing a service. That's us stealing from them. So you got to kind of look at every single one, depending on your area. But that's, Advance doesn't hold inventory anymore. And whatever their person was they had in charge, that's why they're going out of business. Like, especially in your area, they closed 700 stores. They got an issue. AutoZone is kicking butt, and so is O'Reilly's. So I keep using those. And AutoZone recently just upgraded all of their Duralast Gold products. They're above what I ever thought a red box special or the the gold stuff would ever be. Their starters and alternators have gone from to a lot higher, and CarQuest has kind of dropped, in my opinion. But anyway, next question.
When you do these videos, this is purely because I just met with a lawyer also to cover all of my crap. Do you have them sign something that says yeah, it's cool to film my stuff or whatever? Or you ask for permission,
at the customer's home?
Well, yeah, when that dude just forgot to put gas in the car, right?
Oh, well, I'm in public. I'm allowed to film wherever I want.
Oh, okay.
So I can walk anywhere I want. Sometimes if I'm in a certain area and sometimes I do ask the people, it's not on camera. Cause some people are like, I don't want to be on camera. Some people don't care. But most of them are like, you're on YouTube? Hell yeah, film. That's cool. But if I ever had a problem, somebody would just be like, can you not film? I've had a little old lady say that. Can you not do that? Yeah, no problem. So now I used to film everything. Now I still haven't figured this YouTube thing out. But yeah, no, I don't have a problem when I go to people's houses. They don't give me an issue.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So when you go out to somebody's house, right? You do the diagnosis, you tell them it needs a fuel pump or some crap like that, right?
Yeah.
Nobody has it. It's not in stock. The hurricane came through and blew them all away. It'll be here next week kind of deal. Do you charge them for that diagnostic time?
Yep.
Right on the spot?
Yeah.
And then just make a separate work order for coming back out to do the fuel pump?
Yeah, and I don't charge people so I charge my hourly rate on diagnostic time. I don't charge them to come out. I don't charge them to drive to them. I don't charge them a separate fee if I have to go pick up the parts. That's what we're doing. So our markup, our labor rate, everything reflects what it costs to run the company. I got some guys out here that are like, well, I got to go pick up the parts. So that's an additional $35. You're nickel and diming the customer now. You have to have it all inclusive, just like a shop does. A shop doesn't tell you they have to pay for trash and internet and disposal of oil and, stuff like that. It's built into the labor rate. It's built into the markup. So that's why I say your ticket, I have to keep my ticket in between 40 and 60% to be able to make a certain net profit at the end of the year. So like that video I just put up, I had one person question it, and even some other times during the year, I had some other people think they knew better, and they're like, that's crap. You only made $17,000 at the end of the year. Now, the guy that made the comment online wasn't rude about it, so if you're watching, I'm not saying that about you. But I've had people on TikTok do that, so I don't do TikTok anymore. They're like, oh, 17,000, that's it? I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's nearly 10% net at the end of the year. Even after my taxes, that's how much the company had left over. That's really freaking good for a one-man show. And I only did 180,000 in sales. And that was a bad year for sales. So I don't know why I was telling you that again, but it's, what were we talking about?
Fuck, I don't remember. I was just following up you.
Yeah, I like talking about it. I like helping people do this. I like teaching this as much as I can, or not teaching it, just telling my experience with it. Because that's what I wanted my YouTube channel to be about, was so people knew the back end of it. So that 10% is where having a good profit margin comes into play. So yeah, so like the travel, so that was what it was, your diagnostic. I charge diagnostics because that's my time, that's my experience. This ain't AutoZone where they pull in a code and they're telling you, oh, this is the most common repair, buy this. Like, no, we're telling you this is what it's going to be. There's a guarantee. And something that most shops and other people don't do is, if I come to your house and I diagnose it and I tell you it needs a fuel pump and it doesn't work, you just got a new fuel pump and you ain't paying for it. I will not charge the customer. I'm not going to refund the diagnostic fee, because now I got to re-diagnose it again and figure out what the hell's wrong with it. And then I'll tell them, listen, you just got a free fuel pump. We will still give you the 12-month, 12,000-mile warranty on it, but we were incorrect. And this is what it is. I did that the other day. There's no video on it, but this pipe right here cost me, I have no idea. I ordered it from Ford because of the little sensor on here. It's a fuel tank pressure sensor. I was wrong on this. I couldn't get to the harness. So where I had tested from, I seemed correct. I wasn't dropping the tank. I was being lazy. Stupid. I told the customer this is what they needed. When I got to the house and I got it unplugged, the freaking wire was broke. I pulled it apart further and got a different reading, and I was like, you son of a... I fixed the wire, fixed the car, told the customer, hey, you don't need this. I just did a wiring repair. So your cost went from 3 something down to this. We apologize, but hey, we were wrong, but now your car's fixed. You don't need this sensor. And they're perfectly happy with it. They didn't care. And to save face on it is the right thing to do. I could have easily fixed the wire and thrown that into the car, but I won't do that. Again, I don't know why the hell I was telling you that, but anyway, that's what the diagnostic fee's for. Like, and even if you're wrong, don't worry about it. Like, you'll be right on other ones. And that's the thing too, is there's a lot of people on here that are posting diagnostic videos. They only post the good ones. They don't post the bad ones, and they're too afraid to say, oh, I made a mistake. I could care less if there's a keyboard warrior out there that wants to say I don't know what I'm doing. I'll just tell them they're a keyboard warrior. I don't really care. It's more to let people know that what the realization is of doing this job day in and day out alone the way I do it. You're gonna make mistakes. It happens. We're human. We all make mistakes, and even the best diagnostic technicians, Scanner Danner or Eric O at South Main Auto, those guys are great. Advanced level diagnostics. He's really, really good, especially with communication lines. Sometimes I really have to stare at wiring diagrams for communication stuff to get my head to go around it, and that's even with me taking Ritalin to calm my brain down. But it happens. We make mistakes, and probably they don't make that many mistakes, but Eric O shows it. He's shown, mistakes he's made in the past, and that's a good thing to let people know that, mistakes can be made. And as long as the customer's aware of it and they're happy with it and you do right by them, then it's fine. But again, I don't know why the hell I was telling you that.
No, I hear you.
But that's why we charge the diagnostic fee, because we're taking that risk, and we're the ones saying, we're giving them the guarantee. So if I come back to do a fuel pump X amount of days later, they're just going to, I don't up the labor. Let's say the labor rate is 2.1 hours for the fuel pump, and I sell the part for this much. My travel back to them will only be associated in a day where I'm near all those people again. I will not say, oh, I got to go 30 miles over here. Oh, I got to do that fuel pump. It's all the way on the other side of town. That's a 45-minute drive. That's not happening. If the customer doesn't like my scheduling, they don't get my service. I won't put myself out and stress myself out further just for a job. The phone's going to ring again. I will get more work.
Right on.
Yeah.
All right, so question back to the trailer then.
Okay.
So when you load this thing up, how did you deal with the balancing? Because obviously you got the big box on one side. It doesn't seem like a lot of weight on the other with just that workbench and whatnot.
There's not.
Okay.
Before I put these bigger axles in it, I had one side of the trailer that drastically sat lower than the other. I constantly tried to move things around and fix this or fix that. Not all the time does it really work out, but I was having problems. I was wearing the inside of tires out consistently. I still, to this day, I just put these axles on. There's a video of me posting where I upgraded these axles from 3,500 to these 5,200 pound axles. It raised the trailer about 4 or 5 inches higher than it ever used to be. But still, the rear tires are freaking gone before half of the tread is gone on the front tires. I just put 2 new tires on the rear the other day. I order 4 tires at a time, 4 basic tires. I have a manual tire machine that I bolt to the ground in my garage, and I change 2. Typically, if I'm not being lazy, I'll change those 2, rotate them to the front, and then rotate the bad ones to the back. So when they wear out, I only have 2 more to replace. But the way I did it this time, they'll probably all wear out, and I'll have to put 4 on at one time. But either way, I would worry more about making sure everything is bolted down very, very good, because stuff moves everywhere in here. Where you think it's bolted down, it's not bolted down. Everything is just constantly flying all over the place all the time. Sometimes I come in, because I'm so dusty here, like the dirt that sits on top of this box, my laptop, I'll come in and it'll be in 2 pieces on the ground. And I'm like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. You know, sometimes I'll forget to put a bungee cord back on those boxes, and it's everywhere in the trailer when I walk in. And it's like, bro, seriously, like, come on. You know, but so that I would worry more about that than being too precise about the left and right. You can always move some stuff later. But the only reason why, like with this, the oil's under it. And there's more stuff over there to kind of help compensate it, plus this big box that has a lot of stuff in it. So it kind of works, but it is what it is.
I mean, would you consider going over to like an LT style instead of using like trailer rims and tires?
Well, the rims are there, but I have radial tires on there now, I think. I don't know. These are the tires, not the 2 they are ST tires that are on there actually. Yeah, the 2 I just put on were ST tires. So they were for trailers, but they flex real well on turns. So that's the only reason why I stay with them, because you can see sometimes the tires at the bottom will be, you know, really bowed out when you're parking somewhere, and that's what the trailer tire is all about. I was thinking about, you know, like some big heavy 10-ply ones, but they're so hard on the trailer that everything's a mess even more. I'll notice it. 30 PSI to 50 PSI is a huge difference on the dirtiness of the trailer driving down the road. Refrigerator.
Oh,
what else you got?
How do you deal with I don't know where exactly your location is, right? But you got a day that's just non-stop downpour kind of deal, right? For me, it would be like the equivalent of like having a fucking snow day. Like,
yeah,
a trailer on the ice, guys.
I'll take a rain day over snow any day in my life. I've never seen snow. I've never been in snow, but I've seen some of you guys that live up north that work on snow cars. I would be an office 9-to-5 worker before I ever work on northern rusted vehicles. I work through the rain. I work through the cold. Granted, it's not cold like it is where y'all live, because we don't get the rain in that cold. Like last week, the mornings when I walked out of the house, it was 22 or 24. I just go to work. If it's raining, I have umbrellas. I have a umbrella, and I just do whatever I need to do. There's a couple of older videos I have up, especially one on an old Celica. I was doing a power steering pump, and it started to rain. I'm laying on the ground in the rain with an umbrella over me, changing that pump, just getting it done because I got to get it done. I can't leave it. And because if I leave, my brain goes crazy. I'm like, I can't sleep at night. I can't function until that job is done. It's the same. That's just the way I've been my entire life, is I have to finalize what I'm doing so I can move on to the next. Otherwise, I reel about it. It's why I take the Ritalin, because I was having a hard time focusing on a diagnosis without thinking about the next diagnosis already in my head. I'll split it and start stressing about where I have to go the rest of the day, and I can't just focus here. So that's why I do that. I take that. But yeah, I'll work through the rain. It doesn't matter. It sucks.
Gotcha.
But you can dry off.
Figure out my my limit of where it's like, guys, like the highway's iced over. Like,
yeah, that's a little different. Yeah. I mean, if it's so here in the summertime, we'll get some nasty storms that could last a few hours, but most of the time there's a breakup in between it where I can get a job done and wait it out for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, get it done, get out of there, go to another one. Or if I got 2 or something left of the day and I've been pushed back for the day, most customers that live here, they understand. They're like, yeah, it's been psycho raining all day. Or some of them will be like, I got a shed and a garage, that you can put the car in. Awesome. I'll do that at that point so we can at least do it. I'll grab the tools. I'll jump out the side door so I can close the door and go do what I need to do. And just kind of make do and get the day done. Because I don't like pushing people over, because that typically means Wednesday, I'm not in your neighborhood. Tuesday, I'm in your neighborhood. Wednesday, I'm 40 miles away. I'm not doing that. It's too much driving around.
Gotcha. That's all I got, man.
That it? It was only an hour and 13 minutes.
Oh, not
nah.
I'm sure more come. It's like I luckily got super busy, so like same type of deal. 2 weeks out, it just happened to be 20 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, the biggest thing I can tell you is everything's going to change. You're going to constantly change it. You're going to think certain ideas are good, and they're either going to be good or bad. Like I mentioned in that video, sometimes I'll go to people's homes. So, okay, here's one. Granted, I bought the part on this, and it didn't screw me. It just wasn't correct. The customer said, I can hear the starter spinning, but it won't engage. All right, well, here's an estimate for a starter. Trying to save some time. It didn't work out. It wasn't a starter. The motor didn't work. It spun the motor over. The motor was dead. Didn't have any compression. So, it just... but a lot of times I'll go to people's homes and they're like, oh, my brakes are making some noise. I have brakes and rotors. Can you come do it? The first year I took all of that stuff. Last year I tried not to do a lot of that stuff, and it showed in our overall numbers because I told a lot of people no last year. No, I'm not I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I was trying to keep it more minimum and grow in a certain way. I didn't push to grow in that way as hard as I should have. This year I'm making those changes, but that's what reflected. The 2023 was, I think, like 203,000 revenue, and last year was only 180,000 in revenue. So that's where like I said, there was a couple of places I left a lot of money on the table, and that's our goal this year, is to fix that. So we tried something in 2024. Some of it did not work. We lost money. So that's why this year I was like, all right, well, maybe I'll try this. I'll try the oil change thing to try to do some more inspections to try to grasp a better clientele and not have to do those jobs where, hey, I bought my parts, can you come install them? You have to kind of realize in today's world, parts are at people's fingertips, and there's no way to get around it. You can't change people's mind. You can't change the industry on the direction that it goes. I tried that last year. I tried telling people, no, we don't do that for this reason. They don't give a shit. They want to buy their own stuff because they think they're saving money. They're not. I do only, though, if someone says, hey, I bought an alternator and I need it changed. So that just happened, actually. Customer has a little, I don't know, I think it's a Kia or something. They called they called the week before last week. So right when I was still on vacation at the New Year. And I said, okay, well, I can put you on Monday. You said they ordered an alternator, and the alternator was on its way because AutoZone told them to put an alternator in it. And they ordered it. It came in, but it came in late. It was supposed to be there Sunday, and Monday I was supposed to do it. Well, I get there. Guess what? It don't need an alternator. Not at all. The battery's stone dead. I said, okay, go. You need to take the battery out, and you need to go take it to AutoZone and let them charge it for 3 hours. I don't carry a charger, and I'm not leaving my charger here if I did. Go do that, and then don't hook it up. And I'll come back in a couple days, or I'll come back tomorrow because I was still in the area. And I'll double check the vehicle. And the alternator was working fine, and it still is working fine. They have a draw. Come to find out, the driver door doesn't close correctly, and they have like a 150 milliamp draw, and it's killing the battery in 3 days. So after I got there, 2 days late now, I was supposed to go Monday. The alternator didn't come in until Monday night. So I told him, sorry, I told you, Tuesday and Wednesday I'm not in your area. I'm not back till Thursday. So this past Thursday, I went to their house, looked at the car, jump-started it. Alternator's putting out 14 volts. No problem. It's working great. I said, your alternator works fine. I said, tell me what happened. They explained the whole story so I can cancel out if it was like they were driving for like 2 hours and then the alternator started to die, like if it was a temperature thing. Because sometimes you'll go there, alternator works great, but if you give it some time, it starts to fail. That's not the case here. The case was, she's like, oh, no. They told us we needed an alternator because the car sat in our driveway for 3 days and then it wouldn't start. I go, ma'am, that has zero to do with your alternator. Your alternator doesn't charge the car when it's off. It only charges the car when you drive. That's not how it works. I said, so if you didn't have you couldn't start the car after 3 days, you either have a dead battery, bad starter, or some wiring is going wrong in the car. So that's when I said, let me just do a quick draw test. Even on a poor battery, I said, you got to draw. And then she's like, what does that mean? I said, well, it's a parasitic draw. That means something's staying on. She's like, oh, the door doesn't close right and the light sometimes stays on. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me right now. So like that bit me in the butt because I was expecting to go do an alternator. She don't need an alternator. Now, instead of an alternator labor, now I'm charging a diagnostic labor. So mentally, I'm running in circles because a customer wants to do their own thing. Last year, I stopped doing that because it was very stressful, especially with brakes. You go to a house, take the tires off, and the brakes are wrong. That pisses me off. Like, you're trying to do something, now you're wasting my time. So then, I typically tell people, if I come and the parts are wrong, I'm charging you $60 anyway. You know what I did find out about that is if I did charge that $60 anyway and have to come back to do the brakes anyway, they don't call back because they got mad that you charged that. I don't like people saying anything bad about my company and ethics online, and I try to avoid that, but that type of work presents that type of situation. So that's why I stopped doing it, but I need to redo it because I need to bring the company back over that 200,000 mark. So this year I'm going to do more of it on a case-by-case basis and see how it goes. I had a customer the other day with a Caravan. They bought an Amazon O2 sensor. They didn't need it. The car was stalling, and they thought it was from the O2 sensor. I said, you don't need an O2 sensor. You need a TPS sensor. I had gone there to diagnose it and told them, I said, you need a TPS sensor. Just go buy one of those at the auto parts store and put it in. Don't worry about that O2 sensor. It's not doing anything. It's not affecting what you're dealing with. They did that, and like, this is great. It's not stalling anymore. It's perfect. I said, I told you, like, there's, you're buying shit on Amazon, you're going to get shit results.
Yeah.
Those are the jobs that drive me nuts when people do that because they don't understand that it's making our job harder when you put shit parts in because those parts could be doing something different than the original part did, and that was never your problem, but that's a new concern now, and that's just going to throw us into circles.
Yeah. I will say, I know you don't do a lot of diesel work, but like last week, I'm dealing with this other 5.9 that is just down the street from me, but fires up, cold, intake air heater works, all that kind of crap, but anytime he fires it up when it's cold, it's just sitting there missing like crazy. And it's like, I've got all the fuel system tests from Cummins to do all that kind of stuff and narrow down like which injector it is. And it ends up being like 4 of them are returning more fuel than they should.
Yeah.
Pull the valve cover on it and start pulling the injectors. And I've got 2 from AutoZone, 1 from O'Reilly's, and 3 from some other diesel logic company. It's like, bro,
yeah.
Like I know you just put all these in.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's not telling you that.
he said he just got them, but he didn't know from where. So it was kind of like red flag already deal, you know?
Yeah.
It's like you can't, on Diesel World at least, you can't use AutoZone and O'Reilly parts. Like you got to get OEM.
You got, yeah, there's certain cars you need to get OEM. There's certain, like if I go electronic stuff, I try to stay with as close to OEM as possible, or like a Denso, Delphi, NGK, stuff like that. Yeah, reputable names. I don't like, so air conditioning, I use Murray or GPD or Four Seasons, because they make air conditioning and cooling system parts. So like radiators and stuff, I try to deal with Murray as much as I can. Hard parts, I'll use typically either of them. Brakes and stuff like that, they're fine. Bearings, seals, I stick with National. I've done quite a bunch in the beginning. I was doing a lot of Ford rear ends for some reason. They were just constantly, I was getting Ford rear ends. I had put a pinion seal in that was a Duralast, because that's all I could get at the time to finish the job. That freaking thing leaked like in days. So that's when I'm sticking with National on that, especially bearings. I'm not going to go cheap, because it needs to last, and I got a warranty and I don't want to deal with it. You know, same with fuel pumps. You can get some fuel pumps from O'Reilly's that are pretty cheap, but I'm not putting that in a customer's car. I'm going to go Delphi or Denso, because that's usually what comes in the car from the factory. If you look at the pump, it'll say those names on it almost all the time. Like even that $700 one I was telling you about for the Toyota, there's a burn that goes through on the ground, just melted the connector, and when you pull it out, it says Delphi right on the pump, not Toyota or
not Denso.
Or Denso, whoever it was, I don't know. I get the emblem mixed up in my brain, but so I'll use that stuff over other things, like older Chryslers, like that Caravan I was telling you about. It has to be a Mopar part, electronic part, because I've gone through my years of dealing with those cars and finding out that those cars for some reason just don't like those parts at all. That you have to go Mopar on those, but you can get those parts cheap. You don't have to go to the dealer. Go to Amazon. Amazon works as a drop shipper. Rock Auto works as a drop shipper, but it's hard to deal with warranty on them. Their parts aren't cheaper because they're cheaper parts. Now, some of the brands are pretty cheap, but so like Delphi or Denso, for instance, if you can't find a fuel pump for one of those close, you can go on Rock Auto and find the same exact one. All they do is pick it up from a warehouse somewhere in the United States and ship it to you. That's all they're doing. So there's a couple companies that are called Ford Parts Giant, Nissan Parts Deal. Those are dealership, drop ship style places, I believe. I think that's what they are. Because all they're doing is just being a third-party Amazon-style shipper, and they're ordering it from whatever dealer they see the inventory stock at and then send it to me. That's where that hose came from, was from Ford Parts Giant. So much cheaper than my local Ford dealership. And I can still deal with the warranty, but you usually don't have to. It's not that much of a problem. So, yeah, man, that's it.
Sweet.
All right.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, not a problem. Good luck to you. You got questions, you got the email, you got the cell phone number. Just reach out, send a text. Let me know if you got any questions, and I'll try to help you as much as I can.
Same thing if you ever decide to work on a diesel. Let me know.
But anyway, yeah, man, that's it. I'll let you go. My wife's probably like, where the hell are you? I gotta go grocery shopping and do all kinds of shit. So good talking to you. Like I said, I'll get this edited throughout the week, and I'll get it sent over to you.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I'll talk to you later.